Salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item 3 on our agenda is the public comment period. This period we offer a member of the public to address the board on an item not on our agenda. Anybody here that would like to do it? I see no one, so we will move on to the consent calendar. Item 2 on the consent calendar, I'm going to take off and put on the agenda as item 5J, and we'll consider it under the regular hearing. So the only item left on the consent calendar for approval of the minutes of the May 5th, 2016 meeting. All those in favor, let's take a motion, I guess.
I move that we approve that consent calendar as amended.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. First item we have is a hearing for Seal Air Corporation, Cryovac 14R092. I believe we have a party here to represent that. Could we get your name for the record, please?
You got to get sworn in.
And then we'll need to swear you in. Is the light on the?
Here? Hi. Kim Rogers, Dushar McMillan and Associates, agent for Sealed Air Corporation.
All righty, thank you. Sarah, you want to swear her in?
Well, I probably should be sworn in too while we're doing it.
You're good right there.
Yeah, I have one too. Yeah, I'm supposed to have one too.
Do you, Ms. Rogers, solemnly swear to affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Mike Austin, do you solemnly swear that or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
All righty. Having got that matter out of the way, the hearing this morning is request for revaluation based on decline in the market value. So the burden of proof lies with you, Ms. Rogers. So we'll allow you to start your presentation.
Okay. Do you need to be stamped in or
Give us the clerk, please. Okay, this item will be entered as Exhibit 1. Okay.
Okay. This appeal is for the Sealed Air Corp. Property at 1835 West Almond Road. The first page is just kind of a summary of the property itself, as well as the values that are enrolled and our requested value. The building size is 264,000 square feet. It is a manufacturing warehouse facility that was constructed around 2000. Started in 1998, has 24-foot concrete tilt-up walls on heavy steel frame. If you turn to page 2, it's just an aerial shot of the property itself. Page 3 and 4 give you a couple of pictures of the site and the building. And then page 5 is just a parcel map. The current assessment is $10,347,073, or $39.19 a square foot. Starting on page 6 is our sales approach. The first page is a summary of the subject property, which is the highlighted yellow line, and then followed by the 2 sales that we identified, concentrating on facilities that had more than 75,000 square feet, since our building is 264,000 square feet. We did have to expand the search area from Madera County, so we went down to Fresno County. They're pretty close, pretty similar, and what you guys do here is mostly agricultural and support for that. Sale number 1, actually on page 7 is a map that just shows the location of the 2 sales. Sale number 2 being the one up in Madera and one down the southern part of Fresno County. On page 8, this is the sale report itself for the Fresno County facility. This is an industrial building of approximately 22 years of age. Has 104,000, almost 105,000 square feet. This has 24-foot exterior wall heights, is considered an average condition. The land-to-building ratio on this property is 2.87 to 1, and our subject property is 3.34 to 1. Then on page 11 is the sale number 2, which is the facility up in Madera. This property was on the market for 479 days, is a single-tenant facility, slightly older, it's 25 years old, while our subject is 14. This one has 28-foot exterior wall heights, concrete tilt-up, etc. So we took those 2 sales, and on page 6 you'll see that we did make some adjustments. The first adjustment we made was for the size of the properties. About 100,000 square feet usually results in a 10% positive or negative, depending on what we're comparing to. In this case, they were negative since our building is bigger. We did make positive 10% adjustments for the age. Our subject is 14, and both of the sales are over 20 years old. No condition, because they all seem to be in average condition for their age and use. The land-to-building ratios are pretty similar to the subject, so we didn't adjust for that either. We did adjust for a wall height on the Madera property, since it does have 28-foot exterior wall heights versus 24-foot exterior wall heights. We also made a time of sale adjustment of 2% positive for the Madera property, since that sale did occur at the end of 2012, whereas the sale in Fresno occurred during 2013, actually at the end of 2013. Once the adjustments are made, the average unit value would be about $30 a square foot. Someplace between $25 and $35 would be the indicated value per square foot, so we rounded it to $30 a square foot, or 7.9. Since there's not as many sales in these particular areas for industrial properties of such significant size, I did do a pro forma income analysis. That's on page 14. In order to, you'll see we have a bunch of entries here for price per square foot, vacancy, et cetera. To get that, I researched the market areas. In this, the large warehouse and manufacturing and properties that contain 125,000 to 300,000 square feet We did extend that search area to Stanislaus County, Merced, Madera, and Fresno counties to try to get an idea of what this whole corridor gets for rent rates. So on page 15, you can see an historic summary. Using those parameters for those areas, there's 94 buildings that fit the criteria. And then on the right-hand side, you can see the average triple net rent rates that span that entire area. The total at the end, when you average it all out, is $3.45. We use multiple years in order to stabilize the rent rates to avoid taking into consideration any positive or negatives that may be occurring in the market at that particular time. The next page on 16, we did isolate that search down to just within Madera County and actually went for any properties with more than 50,000 square feet. There's not as many large industrial properties here, so we just reduced the size a little bit to see what the differential would be. Once again, in that consideration, there's 36 buildings, and the average triple net rental rate is about $3.09. On page 17, I also isolated it even a little bit further by going within a 3-mile radius of the subject property. There's actually 18 buildings over 50,000 square feet around the subject, and the average rent rate over time is about $2.83 a square foot. In conjunction with that, on page 18, I looked for any comparable property leases that were signed between January 1st of January 1st of 2013 and the end of March 2014, still staying within that corridor area along the 99. So on page 20, you'll see the first comparable lease sale. That was in Modesto. It's Frito-Lay and Graham Packaging. That lease was signed at $3 a square foot. Then on page 21, another property in Modesto. This one is also at $3 a square foot. Page 22 is the Del Monte manufacturing facility up in Modesto. That was $3 a square foot, and they leased 150,000 square feet there. That's the whole building. Page 23 is Frito-Lay's manufacturing facility in Modesto, once again at $3 a square foot. Page 24 is a property in Fresno. This one is at the high end of the range at $4.08. It's a retailer. I'm not sure what Human Scale does, but that lease was also signed during the time frame. Page 25 is Ball Container in Modesto, and that was another 157,000 square foot rental at $3 a square foot. So we used those, and I came up with a $3 a square foot triple net rental rate to be applied to the subject property on my income approach on page 14. Overall, the vacancy for industrial properties in these areas is pretty low. You don't have an oversupply of buildings. You're not at like a hub area like Stockton is, where there's going to be more warehouse and more transactions occurring. And so it's about 5%, which would include any potential income loss if a property goes vacant for any time. Most of your facilities, it seems, are single-tenant occupied, especially your manufacturing plants. So when a property does go vacant, we just take into consideration some income loss to the owner and the 2.5% vacancy rate. So that gave us a 5% vacancy and collection loss. We use 7% for expenses, which is pretty typical for industrial properties across the nation. Just takes into consideration the typical reserves, replacements, and that sort of thing. And then for our cap rate, there weren't a lot of sales to look at in this particular area. So I used the CoStar Industrial Report for the Stockton-Modesto area. It was the closest larger area where I could get enough information to determine what kind of a cap rate would be applicable. Most of the report is specific to Stockton and the Modesto area, and it is, I will say, that this report came from third quarter 2014, so I'm not relying on a lot of the text information or the lease rates that are in there. What I'd like you to do is to go to page 42, which just gives you the cap rate analysis overall for the area and compared to the United States as a whole. So between 2013 and 2014, it's right in between like 7.5% to 8% for both this particular area as well as the national United States. And these reports are for all industrial properties regardless of size. So taking this report into consideration and the other information we were able to find, I felt that 8% capitalization rate was reasonable, which gives us an indicated value of $8,746,650, or about $33 a square foot. And that is our case.
Okay. Does any member have any questions? Mr. Rogers?
Very thorough.
Okay. Mr. Austin?
Not at this time. Let me discuss my information, then basically we might have some questions between the two.
Okay. All righty. Thank you. We'll let Mr. Austin take the floor here.
Yes, Mike Austin for the Assessor's Office of Madera County. I have two exhibits. I have actually three. The first exhibit will be our 1606 exchange that was mailed to the taxpayer.
It's going to be your Exhibit A.
Yeah, that would be Exhibit A. Mailed to them April 26, 2016. And basically, the first page of it says that the value is $18,475,373 in total. I do have one question for Ms. Rogers. You are not contesting the values of the fixtures or the personal property, is that true?
That is true.
Okay. In this particular account, we have to assess the equipment and the fixtures on the same secured account as the land and buildings. They're contesting the value of the land and buildings only. Okay, I have two exhibits.
Just to reiterate what you said, Mr. Austin,
Uh-huh.
you're saying the combination of the land and the improvements is what we're contesting, right?
Yeah, just the land and improvements, right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, now I have two other exhibits, and I will hand them to the board.
Do you have them tagged as number? Okay.
Can you describe B and C for the record?
Yes, I can describe and say. Exhibit B is our valuation. It's got, the first page is actually, it's looking, comparing the actual building, Sealed Air Corporation, to all of the comparable sales. The next few pages happens to be our income approach to value based upon discounted cash flow analysis. Exhibit C goes to a report that Sealed Air through Kim Rogers has sent to us, and it's basically the same one. And it's Exhibit C, and there's 20 pages of it.
Mike, can I ask, is that the same COSAR report that Dave attached to this?
It's identical. Okay. Oh.
bear with us still. This is all turns. Okay. First item, your Exhibit B. You want to explain it again, Mr. Austin?
Okay, Exhibit B is our analysis of the values. What we do is we basically find sales prices of properties that are similar or we deem similar, and we basically look at the location, the year sold, acres, land size, building size, year built, effective age or average age, condition, wall height, building construction, the use of the property, sales price and square foot price based upon dividing the sales price into the size of the building. And as you can tell, the very first line, Sealed Air Corporation, Madera, and Kim has already went over this. It's 20 acres. It's got a building size of 264,000 square foot, built in 2001. We have an average age of 13 years, good. Its condition is good. Wall height is 26, concrete tilt-up. It's a concrete tilt-up construction. It's a manufacturing warehouse. When I say sales price and when I say sale year, that's the year that we're talking about, January 1st, 2014. And that's the current enrolled value for just the land and the buildings. $10,347,073, and price per square foot is $39.19. What we've done is we've utilized the CoStar industrial report that the taxpayer has sent to us, and we've got some sales out of that report. And if you want, I can go over each one of them. I don't think it's necessary. I think it's pretty explanatory. The first one, the address of the property, 1320 Performance Drive, Stockton. It was, the sale was 2013. Building is 318,300 square foot, built in 1997. It's 17 years old. It's in good condition. The wall height, we don't know. Concrete tilt-up, built. It's manufacturing warehouse. It was sold for $12,500,000. The unadjusted sales price is $39.27, which is actually exceeds the enrolled value that we have on the property in Madera County. And I will just talk about the sales price and then the adjusted sales
Excuse
price.
me a minute.
Okay.
The $5.89 you've adjusted it reflects the enrolled value versus the sales value?
No, I was going to get to that. Okay, what happens is we take the sales price of the property, $12,500,000, divide that into the square foot building, $318,000, and we get an unadjusted sales price of $39.27. According to R&T Code Section 402.5 of the Revenue Taxation Code, I have to make adjustments to take that sale and adjust it to reflect what the actual subject property is, which is the Sealed Air Corporation. And so what happens is the next line down, it says adjustments to subject. Sale year 2013, I didn't make any kind of adjustment to that. Land size, I didn't make any adjustments to that. Building size, it's a little bit bigger, and so basically I added 10% for it being a little bit bigger. And year built 1997, 17 years old. I said, well, it should be another 5% increase because the subject is newer than our property.
Okay.
Wall height 0%, concrete tilt-up same, warehouse same. So the total adjustments to the sales price is 15%. So the 15% is $5.89. So if I adjust the sales price to the property, the subject property, I get $45.16. Okay?
All right.
And each one of these properties, whether it be in Lathrop, Fresno, Reedley, Kingsburg, or Madera, I have adjusted those based upon its attributes to the subject property. And as you can tell, at the right-hand side, I have $45.16 a square foot adjusted, $44.98 adjusted, $41.43 adjusted, $45.73 adjusted, $39.24 adjusted, the lowest one is $31.97 adjusted, and basically, you look at those and you estimate a value based upon that, a square foot value. I think it's $41 a square foot, and so then you come right down to the bottom where it says Sealed Air Corporation tax year 2014, considering the adjustments and additional 2014 transfers, market value is 264,000 square foot times the $41 square foot is $10,824,000. So what happens is, since we have an RT code section 51 of the code, current market value exceeds factored base year value. Therefore, we have to required to enroll the lower of the two, land and structures, at $10,347,073. Okay, I can go over each one of these if you want. I personally don't believe it's necessary, but if you like, I will.
Just one point of clarification.
Okay.
On the very top line on the right-hand side, you show $39.19.
Mm-hmm.
Down at the bottom, you arrive at 41.
Right. Okay, the $39.19 is what's currently enrolled on the tax roll.
Okay.
I believe the value, if I take all these comparable sales, should be $41 a square foot. So at 264 times 41 is $10,000,008. I can't enroll that number. I have to say, okay, that's the value, but the enrolled value is $10,000,003, and so I have to enroll the lower of the two. So I have to leave the factor base year value there.
Okay. I see what you're doing. Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Now, let me do one thing, or a couple things in regards to the CoStar report. Exhibit C. I want to have everyone look at page 18 of Exhibit C. And since I talked about 1320 Performance Drive in Stockton, I wanted to show you a picture of that property and the actual information on CoStar report. As you can tell, there's 9 cells. This is the third one, number 3. Okay, and it's basically concrete tilt-up. And we went over these numbers: $12,500,000 for the purchase price. The square foot building, $318,000. It was purchased in August 20, 2013. Year build 1997. Just like the information on the adjustment sheet. Okay, that's that one. And we will refer back to that when we get to the income approach. Okay, the income approach to value. What we do is, as we look at the square foot cost or the rental rates and that type of stuff. And as you can tell, let's go to page 7. Page 7. This is directly out of...
This is in exhibit.
Oh, excuse me. I'm on Exhibit B, page 7.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Okay, and basically, this is information from Sealed Air I received 5/26/2016. I'm just going to talk about the first quarter 2014. There's 18 buildings, total square footage, 3,305,000 square foot. There's no vacant properties in this county at this point in time. There may be now, but not as of 1/1 of 2014, our year that we're assessing. Average net rate is $3.12, or 26 cents per month. And the reason I want to do that is for you is because my calculations are all based upon monthly rental rates. It's not on an annual basis. Okay? So I wanted to make sure of that. Okay. Now, we don't look at, typically we don't look at stuff that's more than a couple years old, and so we're not too concerned about their averages. Page 8. This is Madera County, and there's 36 buildings in Madera County, in the entire county. 5,400,000 square foot. There's no vacancy, and the average rental rate is $3.60 a year. And if you divide that into 12 months, you get 30 cents per month. Okay. Now, what I did was I looked at both of those, and I said, well, okay, if I'm looking at being reasonable and that type of stuff, let me take both of those triple nets, and I got 360 plus 312 divided by 2 is $3.36 divided by 12 is 28 cents per month. That's how I got that number. Okay. Now, what I did was on page 3 of Exhibit B, on the lower right-hand corner, I say tax agents data 5/26/2016. As we went over the data, average triple net $3.60 plus $3.12. I went ahead and take an average $3.36 annual divided by 12, and I get 28 cents per month. I take the 28 cents per month, and as you can look at the middle of my calculations, it says unit number 1 sealed air, 2,064,000 square foot, 28 cents multiplied by 264,000 times 28 cents is $73,920. Times that by 12 months, you get $887,040. Okay, that's annual gross. Now, take that number, and you go to page 4. $887,040, top right-hand corner, which is, it says base income, what it says. And I take the vacancy and collection loss of 5%, just like our taxpayers agent. Take off $44,352. I get gross operating net of $842,688. Then I take off 7% for expenses, insurance, management, and reserves. I get $58,988, 7%, just like the taxpayer. Then I go to page 5, which is where all the calculations are actually done. And then right in the middle there, it says total capitalization rate 8%. And this is our calculations. Basically what we do is we take the present value of 10 years, and then we have a reversion value. We add them all up. We add both of those columns up, basically. And then we come to page 2 on this same exhibit. It says value calculated by DCF, discounted cash flow, $10,180,823. And then we allocate that $10,180,823 to the land and improvements. $10,180,823. That's what the income approach would show based upon the same information they have. The only information that's different is probably, my rent's probably a little bit higher. And so then what I basically do is I look at that 10,000,001, and I look at my 10,000,008 for the market value, 10,000,008, income value 10,000,001, and our enrolled value 10,000,003. I believe the value's fine. It's within the range, and that's what we need to do. We need to find the range, and the numbers are pretty close in within the range.
All righty.
That's my presentation. If there's any questions, by all means, I can
Okay.
discuss.
Board members have any questions of Mr. Austin? Okay. Mrs. Rogers, do you have any questions, Mr. Austin?
No question. No.
Okay. Then you have the right of rebuttal at this point.
Are we doing rebuttal now?
Yeah.
Okay. On the, when we do a sales analysis for properties, and especially for manufacturing and warehouse, we're not valuing the acreage and then adding land. You're finding the land to building ratio that the property sits on. That's what a company's going to look for when they are buying a facility. It's not how many acres are here. If I've got a 300,000 square foot building, I better have, 2 to 3 to 1 land to building ratio, so I have room for my trucks, I have room for my parking, I have room for everything that I need to support my business. So on the assessor's comparable sales analysis, he does not make adjustments for land to building, he's making adjustments for acreage. And in our way of thinking, that is not going to correspond with market. For instance, the subject property is 3.34 to 1. Pretty average for a manufacturing warehouse. The comp from the assessors at number 1 comp is 1320 Performance Drive. That has a land to building ratio of 2.9 to 1. So I agree there's no adjustments to be made. Then you get to the comp number 2 in Lathrop. That land to building ratio is 4.06 to 1. While he doesn't have a land area there, I do have that property detail sale right here. And the land area is 11 acres on that property, or 479,160 square feet. The next one, which is 6.9 acres, if you divide it by the total building area, is 2.9 to 1. The next one is 8.3 to 1. Then the 291 North Fifth Avenue at 2808 acres and 102,563 square foot building, that's 11.93 to 1. And then the final one that he has highlighted in orange, 12806 Road 26, that is a 3.09, or basically 3.1 to 1. So the land to building ratio is what should be compared for sales purposes, because obviously for 291 North 6th Avenue, I've got 11.93 to 1. I've got an awful lot of extra land I get to use for anything, or I can build more buildings. I can do a lot of things with that excess land. And on his comp number 1, he makes a negative adjustment for the size, 318,320 square feet for the sale property. Subject property is 264,000, about 50,000 square feet differential. And then if you look at the next one down at 118,000, he has a negative 10 adjustment, which would be standard appraisal because it's 100,000 square foot differential. But that leads you to go, if it's 100,000 square foot differential at 10%, how could 50,000 square feet of additional building area be an additional 10% of value? And then finally, when we get to the wall height adjustments, the Performance Drive facility is a 24-foot facility, definitely no adjustment. His number 2, the Murphy Parkway, that's a 24 to 42-foot exterior wall heights. Once again, there's no adjustment made. Then on the South Maple property at 24-foot exterior wall height building, it's got a 10% positive adjustment. Same with the next one and the next one, but for a 28-foot exterior wall height, there is no adjustment. So if you're going to make an adjustment to the positive for something that is, you're saying is 2 feet shorter exterior wall height, then you have to do the same thing to go in the other direction. So those were my speaking points when we had our original discussions. And then as far as the income, as Mike said, a lot of our information is pretty similar. Comes down to just the actual rent rate variance as well as a cap rate variance.
Thank you. Any questions of Mr. Rogers? Okay. Any comment there, Mr. Austin?
The only comment I would have is I think our value as it stands is okay. It's within the range. I don't think there's any downward adjustment. We have allowed a Prop 8 on this property before, but we don't believe there should be any Prop 8 value on 2014. So I think we need to uphold our $10,347,073 for land and buildings, and then add the fixtures and the equipment to it for a total of $18,475,373.
All righty. Thank you. Any other comments, Mr. Rogers? If not, we'll close the hearing. Take it under advisement here.
Great. Thank you.
Normally we try to get an answer out within 30 days to you.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, going to item 5B is consideration of approval to continue DirecTV LLC item 10R022, 12R118, 13R087, and 14R028 to the October 6th, 2016 meeting at the applicant's request. This is continued twice. And again, we'll refer that back to Mr. Austin.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Mike Austin for the Assessor's Office, Madera County. In regards to DirecTV LLC, as you can remember, I'll remind everybody, DirecTV originally filed appeals up and down the state of California about 3 or 4 years ago. We have 4 outstanding appeals, 11, 12, 13, and 14. And there's some new information out of L.A. County, and the taxpayer wants to review the information. I personally is okay with it. I mean, they're working with us. When I ask for information, they give it to us, so I don't have a problem with postponing another 3 or 4 months. And hopefully, within 3 or 4 months, we'll have some kind of agreement, or we'll have a hearing.
Okay, so your recommendation is to move this to October or November?
October 6th, 2016.
Okay. October 6th. All righty. Do we have all the waivers in place on time and everything on this item?
Yes, we do. I think we did the last one, I think, in like March, I believe.
Okay. All righty. Based on that, we entertain a motion to continue this item, again, with concurrence of the Assessor's Office, to October 6th, 2016.
I so move.
I second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So ordered. Item 5C is consideration of approval to continue Madera Aviation Group LLC, item 14S012 through item 14S015 to September 1, 2016 at the applicant's request. How are you doing on that one? I thought they were bringing you the data.
To date, I have not received any data, any information. However, he has talked to your attorney, and I don't have a problem with postponing it. And Mike, Mr. Ott should have some discussion. There's like a one-line email to me, and they're telling me that they're going to give me the information. We will see.
Okay. Mr. Ott, do you have any comment on this?
Well, Sarah had contacted me earlier this week indicating she'd received communications from the attorney for these folks, and he was complaining about the notice that they received, and it wasn't adequate, and they couldn't be here, and so on. So I just sent Mike an email and said, do you want to fight about this, or do you want to work something out? It looks like they worked out a continuance that the applicant had requested, so hopefully they will do what they're supposed to do and get the information to him.
And we can only hope, yes.
All righty. Based on that information, the board will consider continuing this item to the September 1st, 2016 hearing date at the applicant's request. And we want to ensure that when we notify the applicant that he's utilized his continuance request, that this is done at his request. He needs to be here in September. All righty, entertain a motion.
Yeah, I so move that we continue this item till the October?
September.
September meeting.
I second that, excuse me.
We have a motion and a second before us. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
So approved. Item 5D is a consideration of approval of a stipulation to waive time for JPT Food Tech Corp. Item 14R001, 14R002, and 14R035, which should have a copy of that. Just brought to us here that shows that they have signed the document. I see this document is prepared by Mr. Nelson, County Counsel. I don't see where the assessor had to join in this waiver.
We don't have to agree anymore. We were basically making agreements, and basically, we looked up the code, and the code basically says that if the taxpayer wants to postpone it and waive the time, then they can on their own initiative. And
Okay.
we basically agree with it, but we don't need to sign it anymore.
So does that relieve you of any objection from them doing it too?
Yes, it does.
Okay. All righty, so based on that new interpretation of the dance, we have before us a executed stipulation to waive time by JBT Food Tech / FMC Technologies, appeal number 14R001, 14R002, and 14R035, executed on May 4th, 2016. So entertain a motion.
Okay, I so move that we approve this stipulated to waive time for the JP Mortgage Tech Corp.
I second.
Okay, we have motion second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. Next item then is the consideration of approval of continuing the hearings for JBT Food Tech 14R001, 14R002, and 14R005, which is items 5E, 5F, and 5G. Since we've executed this, I see no problem in doing that. What date do you want to continue this to, Mr. Austin?
The taxpayer's agent originally asked for 2 months, and I said, well, the next time we're going to be meeting in September, and he was okay with September.
Okay.
September 1st, 2016.
Okay, so we'll propose to continue this till the September 1st meeting.
I so move that we continue the JP Mortgage Corp. To the September meeting.
I second that.
Okay, we have a motion second before us to continue all three items to the September 1st, 2016 meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So ordered. Dropping down to item 5H is consideration approval stipulation to waive time for Constellation Brands U.S. operations. The stipulation of time I have here before me. Again, it is executed in the old style. The Constellation Brands has signed it. The county assessor has signed it, and it's before us for approval. So,
Yeah, I have no problem with that. Let's continue that the Constellation Brand U.S. operations waiver of time.
I second that.
okay, have a motion second before us to approve the stipulation to waive time for Constellation Brands USA operations. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. Next item is 5J, which we took off the consent calendar, which is proposal to eliminate the July and August meetings. Normally,
excuse
during
me, wait,
August,
what-
you go to
we-
Wally World for
we-
2 months?
Well, I think we passed one.
You pass.
5I?
Aye, 5-I. Looks like a continuation of
It's the same
Oh,
thing
I'm
as
sorry.
same thing.
You're right, I thought we were doing both. Okay. 5I is approval to continue the hearing for Constellation Brands, 14R077 and 14R082. Again, what day do you want to move that out to?
You know, Board, this entire account's been in litigation for, 12 years now?
Right.
It's at the appellate court level, and from all indications that I've talked to our attorneys and their attorneys, it appears that they should have a decision sometime early part of next year. They're talking, March or April 2017. And we can only hope that it will be that fast. Because, like I said, we've been in litigation for 12 years now, so I don't know. And there's no use really hearing any year after the initial transfer back in 1994 until we get the 1994 value established by the court. That's
Excuse
what
me,
we're-
Mr.
Okay,
Chairman.
so you're saying that we maybe continue this out till April of 2017?
Well, matter of fact, we have all the other appeals too. I mean, we have appeals from
Sure.
1995 on.
Right.
And so we just keep continuing out there. That's why they stipulate away time, because basically we have no idea when it's going to be. Mr. Ott, you have?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I've worked on numerous appeals, and an ordinary appeal takes 2 years from the time you file it to get it through hearing. And this is not ordinary by any stretch of the imagination. I don't think I've seen a single brief from anybody yet. I'm not even sure they've designated the record yet.
As a matter of fact, I don't even believe they've actually designated when they're going to start the briefing schedule
Yeah.
as of now.
So I would be amazed if they get it done by the spring. But I
That's-
don't know,
that's
they
what
didn't
the-
give you a date to propose?
No.
I mean, that's a minimum, but the likelihood is in April, we'll be back here again to continue
Yeah.
this again, but maybe you want to keep track of it.
As far as I'm concerned, and this is just me talking, because we're talking about this account, it may not be a bad idea to have our attorneys and their attorneys, at the end of the year and find out, okay, now where are you guys at with this? Are we going to be another year, or what are we trying to accomplish? That's my own personal opinion, because unless we get things on our record, it just keeps postponing. And like I said, it's been going on 12 years. Matter of fact, I wasn't even working here at the time when this thing started, but,
Yeah. Well, why don't we continue it to the date Mike suggested, and if you like, I can communicate with the attorneys for both sides and see if somebody has a reasonable estimate of when they think they're going to get around to this.
I think that would be appropriate. December, whatever, the first Thursday in December is.
So you want to do it December of this year?
Yes, yeah.
That'll give them enough time
Or are
to,
you saying in December you're going to ask your attorneys to come up with an answer? Or you're going to do that before?
Oh,
and
no,
bring
we're
it-
going to do that before, and then we're
So
going
the
to have
purpose of
them.
bringing it back in December would be to have some kind of a menu of expected dates.
Exactly,
So we'll
exactly,
put that burden upon you.
yeah.
to get
No,
that
it's
done.
going to be on our attorneys, and basically, they should have, by that time, they should have a briefing schedule, they should have all these scheduled out.
Excuse me.
Huh?
Excuse me.
Sure.
Agreement. I just can't figure out the cost savings versus the attorney fees that's been spent on this so far. Anyway,
It's-
all righty.
it's amazing.
Based on that, with the idea being that maybe the assessor's office can come up with some workable schedule that allows to keep this so it doesn't disappear in our schedule. We'll propose to move this to the December
First.
first
Sure.
meeting of 2016.
I so move.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Mr.
Forward.
Chairman, before we leave that, so do we have someplace hidden in our system a bunch of other appeals that are set for other dates right now?
Matter of fact, all the other ones, okay, have been postponed indefinitely.
There's no date on them? How are we going to get them back on the,
Well, basically, that's why I think we need to start putting these things back on the agenda. And
that's what I was thinking, and get them all on at once instead of spread out all over.
Exactly, yeah. And this is my opinion. I believe the best and fairest way to do this is maybe do it in, we're talking from 1995 on, and so I would think the fairest way for everybody, maybe do like 5 years, at a time, every 3 months or something.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion.
But until we get a result, it seems it would make sense to put them all on the same date.
Yeah,
So
I
we
mean.
can-
And we could do that too. Yeah,
No,
that's
I
fine too.
think that, I agree with Mr. Ott. I think the best thing is to get all of these on one item for
Schedule.
tracking purposes only.
Right.
So that we'll put them for update purpose. At such point they become schedulable, we will break them down into other segments.
That's a good idea. I think that's doable
But
and workable.
otherwise,
Yes.
we will have one item that has to do with Constellation Winery, which will list, because this will grow as we go to another year.
Mm-hmm.
All of those will be contained, and then we can move them at a 6-month time. And one motion will take care of all of them with the understanding that at such time as there's some rendering on the first one,
Mm-hmm.
then we'll break these down into something that's swallowable for the board.
I agree.
So at
That's a
this
good
point,
idea.
should we direct the clerk to send a notice on all of the appeals for that December date?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be appropriate, yes.
And then you'll contact counsel for the assessor and
Yes,
get them to work out with the other party what they think the timelines are?
yes.
Okay.
So we can get this as sort of a super file, that those are just all in.
Yeah, and I'll help you. I'll get the
Mr. Osh
information.
will walk you through that. All righty. I think the motion we made is sufficient with the extra instructions without having to take any action. Okay, item 5J, going back to the cancellation of the July and August meeting.
I'm sorry, can I interrupt?
Yes.
So that actually was a direction, so I do need an action because you,
Yes, that was the direction.
okay.
We continued the one we have, but you're gonna get them all together for December. He's gonna put them on there for December. There's nothing else that's actionable for us at this point. But for the December agenda, you will agendize all of these at one time, and then at that point, they'll all move together.
And Sarah, and we have to have a 45-day notice for all of them. Okay?
And we probably should agendize it as something like, it's on the agenda for future scheduling or something like
Right.
that.
Yeah.
Not for.
Not for hearing,
Yeah, I agree.
okay?
So it will still require a 45-day notice even though it's
Yes, anytime they're notified of a possible hearing, yes,
Yeah,
you have to,
I
by law.
I think we should send a notice, yeah.
Okay, now going back to 5J. The request's been before us we normally do the August meeting due to Mr. Austin's vacation and the rest was for the assessor's office. But now we've also asked to do the July.
Yes. Because I'm going to Hawaii also.
Do we have the meeting there?
Huh? Yeah, hey, now we're talking. Yeah, that'd be fine. Then I can write it all off.
All righty. This doesn't provide any problem with any pending cases we have on time and
No, that's why a lot of these have stipulation to waive time, because we want to make sure that we have all that taken care of. And these 2 months is going to help Sarah out a lot, because she's new at all of this stuff. And we have to do a 45-day notice for the September 2016 appeal. So, I mean, that's rapidly approaching us. She's got to send those out July 15th for 45 days. So we're giving her a little break, too.
now I want you to know, sir, we can't do 2 months every other month. All righty. Seeing that the schedule is cleared, and that it's appropriate, there was a question that was called before whether the board had the authority not to meet. I assume that's no problem, Mr. Ott?
I think what my research indicated, and I don't have it in front of me, is that the ordinance setting up this board requires a meeting every month. That doesn't mean you can't vacate one every once in a while, as you've done historically. So there's no problem with this action.
Okay.
But if you wanted to set up a regular system where you only met every other month or every quarter, you would need to amend the ordinance to do that.
All right. Based on that, we'll entertain a motion to cancel the July and August meeting, and the next regularly scheduled meeting of the commission will be September 1st.
Okay, I so move that we cancel those 2 months, July and
second
August.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All righty, we will adjourn to closed session.
Okay.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate all your help.